Welcome to our final day of our All USA meeting. Some of you know that yesterday, July 4th, was our Independence Day, but it's being observed on Monday so that people can have a holiday from their usual work and have a long weekend. And it is a time of reflection within a time of reflection, because we've all been forced into a kind of quietude and self-evaluation, looking back on one of the most difficult years, as someone pointed out, the hundreds of thousands of people who have succumbed to this pandemic in America. And we have not set a good example to the world. And for me, I was very interested in how these important institutions in my life, that is the Sri Aurobindo Ashram and Auroville, and certainly the California Institute for Integral Studies, the various centers in the US, and the Gnostic Center in India has been a leader in educating and looking at Sri Aurobindo and Mother's philosophy, and also the more practical side, how it impacts our life. And the courses that have been offered have a very broad interest, and I think have deepened our understanding of this teaching. And so I really am delighted that Ameeta and Anuradha and anyone else from her team can join us this morning and present and share how they have gotten through this very difficult moment in India, and what the vision is for the future. So Ameeta Mehra, welcome.
Thank you, Julian, and welcome. Thank you, all of you, for joining in. I'm presenting along with Anuradha and Ritika. Both of them are co-trustees and founders of the Gnostic Center. And each of us will take a section and we will present one after the other. So let me begin the slideshow. We called it the Aspiration Towards a New Creation, the Gnostic Center's work. Julian had asked us to present what the Gnostic Center is doing. And I must say that, the Gnostic Center, we named it the Gnostic Center because for us it was a mantra to remind us about the new creation, about the goal of what Sri Aurobindo and the Mother wanted from us, and also how far, far away we are from the goal. It is it's very much, it humbles us to see that, whatever we've done is very little in comparison with what needs to be done and has to be done. And it's a long work. So whatever we present, please take it as a drop in the ocean. And it's really our aspiration to create something which has the new vibration, the new consciousness in it. And the whole of the Gnostic Center's work has been this striving towards bringing in something new, something of the future in everything. So whether it's the architecture and the way that the spaces have been designed, or the materials used, or if it's the courses and the online and on-site courses that we offer, the methodology, the way that we want to do it. We've actually had to start everything with a clean slate and reimagine and recreate each thing. And to be able to do that, I think the most important thing has been to be, self-reflective, recreate ourselves, because that's the only way one can begin to do something of a new, of a more futuristic kind. So that's why we called it the Aspiration Towards a New Creation. We are a work in progress, and we feel very much the magnitude and the immensity of the work that we still have to do. Let's begin with why we started the Gnostic Center and for what we started the Gnostic Center. Um, and this is a photograph of the Gnostic Center's first building, as you can see in front of you. This is the building that we built in 1997, and it was it was built by our contributions, donations, and actually we, Ritika, Anuradha, myself, and Seema, Anuradha's sister, we stood there and actually had it built. So it was a work of love and a work of art for us. And even till today, after so many years, it's the main hall that we use for all our meditations and workshops and our meetings and so on. Why did we start the Gnostic Center? Mainly, it began with our own need that a group of us felt that we needed to focus on our own growth of consciousness and to deepen our practice of Sri Aurobindo's yoga. And the other thing that was a very, very important point right from the beginning, and it has gone through all our work, has been this synthesis of matter and spirit. In each thing, we've tried to see how we can bring into matter something of the new consciousness, something of the spirit. So to spiritualize matter or to materialize spirituality, however one looks at it, that has been a running thread. And the third, because we were very young when we began the Gnostic Center, we did a lot of work with young people, with the youth, with students. We went to all the schools in Delhi. We went to all the colleges, to the universities. We held, talks with various speakers from all over India and so on. So that has been a cornerstone of our work. So these three would be the main, I would say the main threads that run through all the work of the Gnostic Center. The vision, well, that is clear. It's to establish an integral Gnostic center of education for the growth of consciousness. The preparation began in 1996 and is still going on with daily invocations, individually and as a group. We held meetings after meetings after meetings to find out and to figure out how to create an ideal center, what is the way that we would like to make decisions. We did a lot of work on money because when we began the center, I have to say we didn't have any money. At that point, Julian will bear with me on that. I know he feels very much close to that subject. But, the power of money and how to bring in Mahalakshmi into the Gnostic Center has been something that we've really aspired, had invocations on. We've become more conscious about how to use money, how to receive it, how to keep it, to become true trustees. So, years and years of work have gone into that. And then the work culture of the Gnostic Center. How do we want to work with each other? How do we want the Gnostic Center's work culture to be? And of course, conflict resolution. Whenever you are in an organization or a center with lots of people, or even a few people, there is always a change, a difference of opinion, or the ego comes in, and that has been, an important work that we are still continuing. I have to say that, this is something that possibly will continue as we go on further. So this has been the preparation in 1996 to about 2001. We've been really into that preparation stage. After that, in 1996, we developed the first plan of the Gnostic Center. You can see it. Preparing a core of individuals was the first thing. Establishing the physical material basis. Preparing conditions and initiating processes for a change or a growth in consciousness. And we called it the research center because research normally gives the impression that you go back, but for us it was new directions, new research, research, new directions in work, in consciousness, education, and thought. So we began with the following courses that you see there: courses and study programs, social and political thought, free progress education. You can read through the list: the future of science, the science of evolution, holistic architecture, the synthesis of yoga, the Upanishad, Savitri, workshops and projects integrating personal growth with life. These were the workshops we undertook in the first 5 to 7 years, and the other activities. So this is the first plan which we brought out in the very first journal that the Gnostic Center produced in 1996 and 1997. Then in 96, these were the first workshops that we conducted. I don't think we can go through that more. And I have to mention that Anuradha has been a very important part of the Gnostic Center. When I was beginning the center, I went to him and I said, would you give us a message for the Gnostic Center? So he kept encouraging us. He said, it's very important in the capital of India to have the presence of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, and the Gnostic Center is that. And I want it to be a university in the name of Sri Aurobindo. Now that might happen, 50 years or 10 years from today, I don't know. But, that has been his work, and he used to guide us on how to prepare the first courses. He said, the first course that you must do there is the science of living. He even gave me the name. He said, now you work on it and you start. So each, I think have about 300-400 letters with Nirodha on correspondence on these things, and also when I used to go there. And I want to read what he said, as the last part of his message to us. This we printed in 1996. He says he wrote this for the center, and he said, I want you to publish it. So he said, the Mother and Sri Aurobindo exerted all their spiritual force to create a new formation on the subtle physical plane. And he said, the Mother declared, we are on the threshold of a new world. To bring that world down into material life, humanity must rise from its present physical and mental consciousness to a spiritual and divine consciousness. And then he continued, yoga must be revealed to mankind, Sri Aurobindo says, because without it, mankind cannot take the next step in human evolution. And Anirudh wanted, the Sri Aurobindo Gnostic Center of Education in Delhi is being founded to attempt to provide students with an integral education in order to prepare them to take this next step in evolution. So this was what he gave us as our vision. How are we manifesting the vision? Here, I'd like to bring in Ritika, who will be presenting this part of the presentation. Ritika, please. Ritika is a practicing advocate for those who are not aware, and she also looks after the legal and the financial aspects of the Gnostic Center.
Good morning, everybody, and good evening for people joining from India. I'm Ritika, one of the co-founding trustees of the Gnostic Center. Ameeta began with, why did we start the Gnostic Center? There she laid out three principles. One was to create a synthesis between matter and spirit. When we began the center, we were young professionals, all three of us, and we sought to practice a life-embracing spirituality. Our aim was both individual and collective, was to bridge up our professional life with the spiritual life. Towards that endeavor, the first activities that we started were the workshops. The workshops were both a reflection of our own individual journey as well as what we wanted to reach out for. The workshops covered various topics like meditation for inner growth, fear, human relationships, cultivating the presence, and There, at that point of time, we felt the need to intensify it further, and then we started the intensives. The intensives were intensification not only for the outward world, but also for ourselves as a team. And then was the next step was the journal. The journal was where we created, curated, collected various articles on self-development and living a meaningful life. And this was just the creation by all of us. And there were articles which were the subject of what we were working on. After the journal, then we brought out a series of 4 books, which were interactive self-discovery series. Each book had worksheets, had application to oneself, and the next set of books we brought out was the Mother on Education, from reflection to action. This was a book that was commissioned by the National Council of Teacher Education. It's a premier institute of teacher education in India, and it was widely circulated. Thereafter, we also started producing multimedias, again because we felt that the visual effect would have a far-reaching effect, and so we produced these multimedias. They covered areas such as work as a field of progress, Lavani, the future, the Academy of the Future. And one of the very first multimedias that we produced was a new education for a new India, which was taken up by the government of India under the National Council of Teacher Education to use it at various institutes of teacher education, and it was circulated very, very widely. Then the next endeavor that we had was to work with young people. We ourselves, being young people, felt that what we as the really young had missed out on was lighting that inner yearning for a spiritual life, or opening that inner, lighting the spirit within us. So that is why we reached out to the youth. And the first things that we did with the youth was talks at schools and colleges, which covered various talks on self-development, interactive theater, integrating spirituality and psychology, integrating spirituality and matter, the role of women, integral education, integral architecture. Thereafter, we started workshops and camps and BLEd programs. Again, BLEd was a program that was started with the Delhi University, which is a premier institute in India. They started a 4-year program called the Bachelor of Integral Education or Elementary Education. And we do the self-development uh, workshops with them. And after all this, we began the school, a research school called Lavani. And here, the emphasis is on nurturing beauty, the spirit, the psychic of the little child, of little children, to really ignite the spark in those little children. And I think for me, the most important feature of this school is not only that it is a means for progress for children, but it is also a way for progress of the teachers there. And the children love to come there. The school has been created in such a way that it's accessible, everything is accessible to every child. And thereafter, again, this is another way we've been manifesting the vision by creating simple structures but with beauty. The mother and Sri Aurobindo have always held and said that beauty is the expression of divine in the physical. This is the first building, the meditation hall that we built. And like Ameeta said, this was without when a lot, we didn't have much resources then, but yet we were able to create something simple and beautiful. The next, this is the Grace, the residential cottage. It is made of only mud and bamboo. There is no cement, there is no steel, and this is the interiors. Each thing is simple but beautiful. We have created, this is the quietude, the guest house, where people from outside can come and stay. And it is also a place for the people living in the campus, working in the at the Gnostic Center to stay. This is Synthesis, a seminar space. Again, it has been designed in a simple and yet beautiful way. There is a dome. So instead of using microphones and sound systems, the simple acoustics help it help us to hold workshops and without having too much to do. This is the shrine where the relics of Sri Aurobindo have been enshrined. The floor, instead of using wood, we have used bamboo over here. We also initially experimented with the air conditioning system, which was a tunnel system. But because in India and Delhi it's quite hot, so in summers we had to disband it. But otherwise, it did continue for a few years. And then this is the Lavani, the preschool. What is really outstanding is that this school has been, we've converted it in from pre-existing stables. We haven't created a new structure, but yet we have done it in such a way to to maximize the use of resources without wastage. The Gnostic Center has been a karma bhumi for all the people working over here. I think for myself, I can say it has been a place not only for progress and growth, but also a lot of self reflection. When we began, each one of us, I think, used the mantra of remember and offer because it has been very difficult, it has been challenging in every way, and we have tried to bring in the motivating force of progress rather than money or fame, and really offering our works to the divine force. We have tried to use freedom and making mistakes as another mantra to be able to reflect and correct these mistakes rather than trying to justify them. And I think the most important thing which we are still dealing with and are always endeavoring to deal with is resolving conflicts in a more self-reflective way rather than based on blame games. The another way that we have tried to manifest this vision is by developing the physical, which can serve the divine, by making the body more receptive. The mother and Sri Aurobindo have given so much importance to the body if one were to wants to do the divine's work. So in 2006, we established Alchemy, an integral health center, where we have a gym, we have a yoga studio, we have aerobic workshops, we've created a cafe for health food and organic food, where lots of people from outside can come. But again, the emphasis is how we can create or curate food that will really serve the body. At the school at Lavani, we've given a lot of importance to the physical development of every child. We give lots of challenges to them, and it's quite amazing that these little kids are able to do things which adults are also fearful of. We have tree climbing for them, we have adventure activities, we have meditation, we have a whole lot of apparatuses which they are working on. And then We have, in the recent past, we have created a campus called the Sacred Groves, which is the organic farm in the Auroville Mountains of the Gnostic Center. We try and grow all our cash crops over there, and so that it's like a full cycle that we've created at the Gnostic Center to make it self-sufficient. And now I'm handing it over to Anuradha to talk about the Academy of the Future.
As Ameeta shared, the whole idea, the deeper idea and the vision for the Gnostic Center was and is to grow into a university of Sri Aurobindo. And all these years, this was playing in our consciousness, and all the programs that we have been sharing with you have been steps in this direction. A few years ago, this name came to us, Academy of the Future. And today I was thinking, why did we call it that? After these years, I was trying to connect back to it. What does it mean when we are saying Academy of the Future? And what came to me was that Sri Aurobindo's injunction, all life is yoga, when that becomes the core of education, that would be an education of the future. When that is the driving force, and that is what we are striving towards. I would like to share a little bit through some pictures with you about this academy and certain principles that we are working on. So we have a lot of courses on site. The workshops, when we started with talks and workshops, there was a need expressed by the participants, whether it was youth, whether it was professionals, that they wanted to go deeper. We were happily surprised because we were told that the youth don't really bother about these things. But our experience was different. When that core was touched in them, they always wanted more. And that helped us to start the courses. First, we began on-site courses. And when we began the courses, we thought, let's begin with what we are good at. First of all, the facilitator herself or himself should grow through what we offer. It should be something which comes from our depths and not just something superficial or purely academic. So each one of us started offering courses which came from our core of being. Foundation course for facilitators ran for 1 year or even more. And it was about building the inner foundations. Of course, the academic rigor was there. There was all the objectivity also, concepts also. But what was new was this emphasis on delving into oneself, seeking one's aspiration, how to keep it alive, and how to make it a tool for learning. So these were the methods we engaged with, whether it was through meditation, through self-reflection, even presentations which were done were based on action research. A problem I am facing, I have to live with it. I have to apply concepts of integral yoga to it, keep a journal, a self-reflective journal, observe myself, be very sincere, and then share about the findings. So it was new knowledge that was being created, and that knowledge was shared through the journal and through our books, etc. Similarly, courses on other aspects, whether it was parenting or it was health, these kind of things we were doing. And then as the demand grew, there were people from around the world who also wanted to participate in these courses, but obviously they could not travel all the way here. And that led us to design online courses. And initially, personally, I was very skeptical whether online courses would really work. How can you transmit growth of consciousness? The atmosphere you can create in a place of beauty, in Gnostic Center, by meditating together, can that be created through a digital media? Personally, I was pretty skeptical, but as this was a project we had taken, so we worked on it. And I was pleasantly surprised. I clearly remember an experience where there was a meditation conducted online and a chanting, and there were people from different parts of the world. And I could actually concretely feel the energy, the vibration traveling and connecting us, like the mother talks of the golden thread, connecting us all together. So online courses, they are still running, and again, they are here because they are specifically targeted to undergrads and graduates. Although now we have smaller courses also 1 week, but there is quite a strong academic structure. And yet, the challenge has been to evolve the curriculum, to evolve the methodology, to evolve evaluative systems which bridge the gap between spirit and matter, between the outer and inner. Therefore, the curriculum still remains something which comes from the depths of the facilitator. It helps the student to engage both with the concepts as well as with the inner dimensions of that field, whether it is Vedas, the secret of the Veda. If you have read of Sri Aurobindo, it is definitely, you have to go into the inner dimension. Without that, you cannot do. And the three methodologies which come from the Vedas, which we try and implement in our way of learning and teaching, the Shravana, which is deep listening, Manana, which is deep reflection, and Nididhyasana, which is deep absorption or inner dwelling on the subject, and the monographs, the action research, because that is what then the student engages with after answering reflective questions, objective questions, all kinds of things, then to come up with some original research. The subjects you can see here, they are different: psychology, Vedic studies, uh, management, education, future studies, new creation of the self, and Sri Aurobindo's texts, human cycle, human unity. This is some of the, there are lots of monographs. This is just to give you an idea of the range. You know, like somebody's working on anger. So it's their anger. They are not doing an academic research on what is anger. This is a problem they are facing. So that's why they are working on it and coming up with the answers. What is its cause? What is its cure? And looking at Sri Aurobindo's and Mother's work and others also. I must say that the students who come to us are not necessarily even aware of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. And yet the common thread is they have an aspiration for progress. They have an aspiration to change themselves or something in the society or both. And they get introduced to this growth of consciousness paradigm. And some of them have got deeply entrenched in integral yoga and even started businesses, educational endeavors, their own websites, all kinds of things, hospitality, tourism, based on these concepts, because they're trying to integrate the same material with spirit, the matter and spirit. So you can see there are some which are about education and philosophy, stress, disease. So this is by a person who has been recovering from cancer, and she did this research on dis-ease, enemy or a potential friend. An artist did on my yoga through art. So this is now, besides the courses, a parallel thing that we have been engaged in is from time to time, not every year necessarily, but over the years, we have held quite a few conferences, seminars, retreats. And these are always focused on something. For the last few years, if we have been busy with something, and it has become a kind of an issue which is coming into the forefront or needs to be given, highlighted more, and like an idea whose time has come. So then we create that, take it up as a theme, and we create the conference, etc. Our very first was 2000 New Education for New India, when, like Ritika shared, the NCT had taken up our multimedia and distributed it, and we created the film also. So here, we did it in Delhi, not at the Gnostic Center, and it was a 5-day conference where over 500 people, educationists, mainstream teachers from colleges and schools participated, and integral education was for the first time introduced in the mainstream. It was a tremendous response. Kirit Joshi, Dr. Kirit Joshi was there, and he inaugurated the conference. In 2011, we had a lovely 3-day invocation and sharing. Collective aspiration can change the course of events. Now I'm forgetting the topicality, but we had carried out a report, and if you see that, it is in our journal, you will see that immediately after there were certain events which we had been focusing on in this conference, and there seemed to be a synchronicity. It was quite amazing, quite a powerful experience. In 2013, like I said, Academy of the Future idea grew. The name came a few years back. So we held a charrette. By that time, Sacred Groves was developing. So we held our invocations and meetings both at the Gnostic Center and at the Sacred Groves. And people from Auroville, from the ashram, from different parts of India participated in it, from abroad also. And we invoked and we focused on what should this academy look like, what should be the architecture, what should be the curriculum, what should be the learning methodology, evaluation, governance, all kinds of issues. In 2016, we started focusing on higher education because as work of the academy to bring more clarity, to enrich, to widen our own experience and to collaborate with others, to open up the field for a larger discussion, we held Evolutionary Potential of Education, where we both looked at the past, the wisdom traditions, and also what is the future of education. And also people from different parts of India and abroad came to share what were their innovations, what were they experimenting with in higher education. Professor Satish Kumar, who set up the Schumacher College and is a very renowned educationist, was with us also in Ashoka University, and other people, and a Buddhist monk also. I forget his name, I'm sorry, but he was also there. So different paradigms. This led to a deeper need for a retreat to dwell on these things which had come up. And very next year, we held a conscious living retreat. Satish Bhai came again. And in this retreat, because it was everybody was living together, so we could do, shramdan, we could do conscious cooking, we could do pottery, art, dance, theater, various types of things, awareness through body, as our sessions also continued on unpacking the different aspects of conscious living, how to live more consciously in all the dimensions of our life. And here again, all the people who joined were not necessarily Aurovillonians, but they were all connected with this aspiration for a more integral living, whether they knew the name or not. See, at the same year, culminating the retreat, we held a conscious learning seminar to bring together the educational paradigm and findings from the retreat. 2019, before the corona, the pandemic hit us, thankfully, we were able to do contemplative dialogues and practices in integral higher education. It was a 4-day, again, most participants were living at the Gnostic Center, and there was a huge international participation, a lot of people from US, from Europe also, and China. And here we took up everybody who came from different universities. Here the focus was on higher education specifically. So people presented their models, how they were trying to implement deeper, more integral principles or more holistic principles in their education model. So we looked at these diverse models. We had session on facilitating, what is the integral way of facilitation, and different people shared. Then on art, music, theater, again, the integrality in it, and dance, sacred dance. And we focused on learning environment, not in just the usual way, okay, what should be the learning environment, what are the teaching aids? No, we looked at social and psychological aspects. When you create an academy, what are the social and psychological aspects of the learning environment? How can people grow? How can they keep that aspiration alive? What should the architecture be like, that the people are drawn inwards and they can express themselves joyfully and holistically? And of course, we had the awareness through body sessions. We were planning to hold the next conference after 2 years, giving ourselves time to prepare and in 2021, but because of the pandemic, now we are going to hold it in 2023. And all of you are welcome. Do contact the Gnostic Center via mail if you're interested to join it, to contribute, to participate. I'll hand it back to Ameeta for this section.
Well, this is towards the end, so we won't keep you listening for too long. The next section that I just wanted to quickly and quietly focus on was the intensification of aspiration and purification of nature. There were 3 milestones there, which we created basically for this particular purpose of how does the Gnostic Center allow those who come in touch with it, whether they are living here or they are from people all around us who come here for courses or every day for regular walks. How do we bring, what do we do for that? Now, here there were 3 milestones. 2007, the coming of the relics and the creation of the shrine. Sri Aurobindo's relics were brought here by 12 people. In fact, the mother indicated the number 12. Nath Kaniji led it with Jumurdi and various other people from the ashram. You can see all the faces on the photographs. And we did the installation of Sri Aurobindo's relics in the shrine. This was a very, very momentous event. Till today, I think if anything is embedded in the memory of our souls, it was the power and the sacredness of this and what it created for the Gnostic Center and how it changed us as human beings in our relationship both with each other and with the center. This is the photographs of the shrine you can see here, the outside and the inside. In 2014, the second landmark event that I want to focus on is the establishment of the monks' retreat as a Himalayan center for the integral work in education and in consciousness. Now, the monks' retreat was started, and then I felt very much we were so high up in the mountains, 7,200 feet above sea level. In fact, we could see the Himalayas, all the snow-clad mountains were right in front of us, and early morning you could see the whole thing in front of you. And we felt more and more as we began to stay there, and we made the buildings and the dormitories and the meditation space, as you can see here, that this was a place that could really help those who wanted to go deep within themselves without any distraction, deep within their consciousness, to accelerate their inner journey, so to say. And this is the view from the same place that I just showed you on the video from the house, the Himalayan view. This is the interior of the place. This is a cottage, small cottage, and so on. So the idea was to develop 3 caves. We called it in 2021, we created these 3 caves of meditation and intense concentration. One was the cave of Om, second, the cave of Savitri, and third, the cave of the Mother. All the 3 caves were meant, each cave had, it was small, so you could have not more than ideally 1 person, but you can fit in 2 people if you wish. They were going to be resonant with that particular thought. So Savitri cave would be the recitation of Savitri, Sunil Das music, the reading of Savitri, and meditation on Savitri. The Divine Mother on the 4 aspects of the Mother, and on the book The Mother. So the lighting and the music and the recitation and so on. So we are about to complete these caves, and I'm sure that some of you will soon come and visit them. Right, and then the final slide that I'd like to end with is the challenges. What were the challenges that the Gnostic Center went through? I'm sure some of you might have those questions in your mind. But just to run through those fairly quickly, because I don't want to continue for long. One, I think, with all centers and organizations are the development of interpersonal relationships. I think in the center, we kept very clearly in front of us that harmony, unity, and mutuality would be the three cornerstones on which we would try and develop our relationships and our work relationships. So there was a constant touchstone on which we could see where we were. Were our relations disharmonious? Were they harmonious? Was there a sense of mutuality? And so on. Then, of course, as everybody's mentioned, the growth of consciousness. And the last challenge that we face even today is how to scale up the courses to reach to a wider audience and go to the next step. Of course, the pandemic has helped us to go deep within, and I'm sure that will help us to go forward also as we continue. So with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for listening to us. And if there are any questions that any of you have, or any comments or any feedback, please go ahead. Julian,
Yes, thank you, Ameeta and everyone for the presentation. I just have a question about the types of certifications or degrees. Do you offer anything of that nature, and how is the Gnostic Center situated within the Indian educational system in terms of accreditation or anything that makes the degrees relevant, so on?
So the Gnostic Center had accreditation from IGNOU. We were affiliated with IGNOU, and some of our courses were taken up by IGNOU for certification. We had certificate courses, MA courses, and so on. But that certification then lapsed. And then we started, because we gained our own kind of name, people got to know about us. So we started our own certification, which was the Gnostic Center certification. And now we are in the process of again talking to the government to accredit this certification autonomously, because our work is too. It can't be put into a box and measured by how many tables and chairs there are in a room. So we are going towards that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bama. Any other questions or comments? So Julian, should we?
I'd like to make a comment. It's very, very inspiring what you're doing, and I'm happy to see the unfolding of this. And I know when I was in Auroville once, one of the old disciples that had been a child in the ashram, I remember her saying that Sri Aurobindo had said he wanted a foothold in the Himalayas. And so I was very inspired. I'd always thought about that. And so I was very inspired to see all the different things you're doing. And I'm thinking about my daughter, she's actually 34. She's a home birth midwife. And she's wanting to continue her education, but doesn't know, is kind of at a crossroads and doesn't know what direction to take. And I was thinking, oh, would it be, so this is sort of a question, could this be a path, and could it lead her to, unfortunately the world is so full of the need for diplomas and this and that to be recognized, and it forgets about the deeper things that are really, really important. So is there a possibility of her studying with you, and it would bear fruition in partly in the practical world, unfortunately, the practical world where you have to make a living and survive. So I don't know about your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, we did just now send out a letter saying if you would like work at the Gnostics at the monks retreat. We were looking for someone to take, to take charge of the monks retreat, but we have found some people who have volunteered to do so. But I would say that let your daughter write to us, and let's see if something can develop, and we'll take it from there.
Ameeta,
Julian?
can you give some idea about this conference in 2023, the theme and the focus?
I actually, we have to still meditate on that. We want to make the theme relevant to all of us. So we haven't as yet chosen or decided upon the theme. We're going to be doing that soon. But if there are any suggestions that you might have, please feel free. Anything you want to say? Yeah. But the idea is perhaps that it is going to be related to education, higher education in some way, though I think that there is scope for a wider, other themes around that too.
Well, it's very inspiring what you're doing, and I hope you're seeing in the chat box many people who are complimenting and thanking you for the depth and breadth of your work. I'm so impressed by this great team you have collaborating with you, and I think all of us want to see India taking a lead in the world, and certainly we're
I think
wishing
there are two
you.
more questions somebody wants to ask. Mira.
Yes, Mira, please go ahead.
Oh, no, I just wanted to say that I am so impressed with the the work that you have done. I think we met you a long time ago in Auroville. And I'm just so impressed with all you have done. I like your meditation spaces. Julian, before he built his new center at Montague, had asked me to design a meditation space, and it looked a lot like what you have been building. So I'm glad it got built somewhere. And that I'm just really impressed with all the work you've done. Carry on. It's wonderful. And how does one apply for staying at the retreat in the Himalayas? I mean, it looks
You
like
just
a beautiful.
you send us an email to say that you'd like to come. Just send
Oh my
me
goodness.
Gnostic at gnosticcentre.com. Anuradha will type out the email address on the chat box, so you can take it down. And if you just write out, say you'd like and for how long you would like to come. We really welcome people to come, and we'd be very happy. There are various ideas. You could come and you could, work, and we then, we take care of your stay, or you could just come for yourself for meditation. It depends. There are various possibilities. Best is to write to us, and we'll work out a way.
Thank you.
Tom,
Thank you for your presentation. I wish we had more time, because I really would have liked to see those photographs and hear more about what you're doing at each of those sites. It's incredible. I wanted to see more of that. Thank you.
Tang, you need to unmute.
I just want to first respond to Mira, those PowerPoint. There are some videos and pictures also on Gnostic Center website. So you can also have your time. It's very extensive, comprehensive there. I mean,
thank you.
Thank you so much. And Anuradha and Ritika, I know, I just want to say how much what three of them have presented is so lived. You can feel when you are in Gnostic Center in monk retreat. So whenever you are in Delhi, you should really visit and be there, and to see what was every vibration of air there is different when you enter the campus of Gnostic Center. So it's great work.
And beautiful.
I also noticed how much the three of them have really lived all this. They're from within, they created all this. Really big source of inspiration for me as well. And I recommend also all the courses they offer, even for people who have done sadhana for long. It's really great systematic way of deepening the sadhana also, because three of them have lived in that way from their created courses. So that I also recommend. But I have one request, Ameeta. I would love to have one cave with the name of Sri Aurobindo. So
So,
if one day,
Savitri is Sri Aurobindo's name. We could call
okay,
it.
okay, I see,
He's creator of
Okay, got you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, just this is what I one
Right?
day will come.
Thank you, Tong. David Wickenden?
Just to say thank you so much for the presentation, but also this amazing work. It's fantastically inspiring for me to see the work here, particularly in the area of education and all the things that you're doing to try to raise understanding and awareness and educate people in a really authentic way and in a way that is also academically rigorous, let's say. It does make me think that in the United States, we still have an enormous challenge in lack of understanding of Sri Aurobindo's work, fundamental lack of understanding of the background of that work, including the Vedas and the Upanishads and all of that wonderful tradition. And so it does make me wonder, as you think about the growth of the center, and maybe, Julian, this is a question for you too, is how some of the work can be adapted or used or extended into this country in the unique circumstances that it faces and the challenges that we have. Because there's so much richness there and so much that you've done to build that. It just seems to me there's a huge opportunity there, and thank you.
Thank you so much. No, I think because ever since we started going online, there are no boundaries for these courses, and I'm so glad you mentioned about the academic rigor and the other rigor, because these courses, we had very, very carefully crafted them, and in fact, a lot of people said that they are far more difficult than the normal MA, because we pegged them at a high level. Because Sri Aurobindo is to be able to read him, you need to be expansive in your consciousness and also very bright. So they have that rigor, they have conceptual understanding, but also now that they're online, David, I would say that take them from us and just and if you want to find a way of creating something in the States, we'd be very happy to collaborate.
Thank you.